Hi everybody. Hi, my name is Jorge Castro. I'm very happy to be part of this technical ability coaching event 2021. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm really happy to be part of the team. Well, first, I would like to apologize with you because today in the morning we're supposed to have this talk on in live stream, but we had some problems with we had some technical problems with the camera, with the audio, and so forth. So we couldn't present this talk. So I apologize about it, but that is why I am recording this video, so you can get access to this talk, with this video. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for listening to this talk, these experiences. I hope you can enjoy this talk and you can find it useful. Okay. So the name of this talk is DevOps and SRE Culture and Practices as a Center of Excellence, setting Center of Excellence up to mature DevOps and SRE practices and foster its culture at large enterprise. So basically, team, today we are going to share with you a real business case, about this business situation or business challenge, which is how you can build DevOps and SRE practices at large enterprise. In this case, we use Center of Excellence as a kind of enabler for that. But something important that to clarify is, for us, a large enterprise, is an enterprise with more than 10,000 people, with a company with business in different continents like South America, Europe, North America, Asia, and so forth. In our case, we had more than 1,000 people working in the program, with more than 60 product teams, with a lot of legacy products and apps and cloud products, for example, right? That is a huge company, So that is the experience that we are going to share with you. And of course, you can take, I think the main approach here is that you can understand the strategy, you can understand what was the solution that we provide, those practices. And depending on that, and of course, depending on your reality of your business case, you can take some ideas from this talk, right? That is the main purpose of it. So let's start. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to move this. Yeah, I think so. Here is good. Okay. My name is Jorge Castro. As I said, I work as a DevOps program manager, test manager, and agile coach. Here you can see my contact information. That would be awesome if you can add me to your LinkedIn account, and we can keep in touch after this talk. If you want to talk about this talk, or maybe there is some specific topic that you can discuss more or get more details, that would be awesome. You can add me to your LinkedIn and contact me there, right? Contact me, and we can share experiences. We can learn from each other, and that would be great. So please do it. That would be awesome. Okay, as I said, this paper shares our experiences about how we deal with the challenges of build and mature DevOps and SRE practices and its culture at large enterprises through designing, conformating, and implementing a center of excellence and value enable groups as part of DevOps adoption strategy. Okay. Before starting, I want to share with you 3 topics which we consider that are important. First one is the idea of a center of excellence is not something new. This comes from lean manufacturing in Toyota. So basically in Toyota, they use center of excellence to try to mature practices, standardize them, reuse them, and make the practices efficient through all the companies, all the teams. So that was basically the idea of this business case, right? Second point is about the word value enable groups, right? You're going to see in some minutes that as part of our strategy, to create a center of excellence to build DevOps and SRE practices, we create those value enabler groups inside the center of excellence. So here the key word is value enabler, right? It's okay if you want to talk about DevOps, automation, SRE, and so forth. That's okay. If you want to talk with architects and developers and IT people, but of course, if you want to move this idea or you want to implement this idea at large enterprise in your company as part of your digital transformation strategy, I recommend you to try to use terminology related to value, right? That is something that moves C-levels and managers. That is quite important, right? And third one, this is not a kind of, final solution, right? In our case, we are sharing with you our experiences with dealing with this problem using center of excellence. But of course, depending on your business case, you can take some ideas from this and you can implement it maybe in a different way or with a different approach. But that's the idea, right? At the end, this is an experience, and we hope that you can take the best from this and it can be useful for you, okay? That is the initial part. Okay, for this purpose, for this talk, we are going to present this information in a storytelling way. So we are going to share with you a story, a real story, a real business case that we face it. So imagine that you are working in a large enterprise, and that enterprise is starting or is in the middle of the digital transformation, AI transformation, digital transformation, cloud transformation, or it's in the middle of a transformation, right? A way to a program to improve the current ways of working, to deal with the market. That's the idea. So imagine that you are leading this approach and you have the mission to, okay, how you can organize as part of the huge goal of digital transformation, how you can organize that build DevOps and SRE practices at large enterprise, in your large enterprise. So it's a huge challenge, right? It's a very important challenge, especially if you are dealing with this unicorn company and all the people is trying to push this to, become this digital company, this unicorn company, and so forth. So that was the scenario. In this case, our main challenge was, okay, we had teams working in different locations, in South America, Europe, in India, and so forth. And also we had a lot of team members. We have more than 60 product teams related to legacy products and related to legacy products, on-prem products, and also some apps, some cloud products. A huge company, more than 1,000 people involved, with different business goals, with different technologies, with different products, and so forth, right? So there was a challenge, and imagine that you want to organize this in terms of, okay, we can create a kind of governance where we can reuse these DevOps and SRE practices, we can be efficient with them, we can measure them, we can, it's kind of complicated. And especially if those 60 product teams, they were already working with DevOps and SRE practices, but in a kind of not aligned way, right? Basically, it was a kind of isolated effort per team. So imagine that, right? You have a lot of metrics around, you have a lot of technology around, you have a lot of practices around, which are not good. Sorry, which is not bad, of course. But if you imagine that you want to present the status of DevOps in your company, right? So it's kind of complicated. If you want to present some metrics, okay, it's kind of complicated. So that is why we needed a kind of governance, a kind of standardization, a kind of strategy, right? To move this adoption in a better way, reuse things, and get advantage of, from the real knowledge that we were creating in our team. So that was part of the problem, right? Okay, for that approach, basically we did a research. we research a lot about we research about how other companies in the market deal with this situation. To how they build DevOps SRE practices, basically. So we got a lot of information, keywords, chapters, DevOps excellence, business agility, SRE teams, agile framework, scale agile framework, lean startup methods, and so forth. So after that, we decided to do this first approach, this first experiment, which was this. We create some community of participants, which basically we create some groups, with the architects, with the enterprise architects, with the senior developers and senior architects. So those teams were in charge to create some guidelines about DevOps and SRE, some assets, some trainings, and of course we schedule a lot of trainings to to coach the teams, right, in terms of those practices. But we failed. We failed. That is true, because it wasn't enough. It was good. The approach was good, I think. We had the trainings, we have the methodology, we have the plan, but something was missing, right? It was a huge challenge. We learned a lot from this. For example, that our strategy was a team level strategy. In this case, we needed a kind of team strategy, for example. That was a lesson learned. Second was, okay, how you're going to measure, right? Because you have a lot of training, okay, but how you're going to measure that your teams are doing real improvement in terms of business value, for example, right? That was part of the lesson learned. So after that failure, we learned a lot, and we did some extra research, and we got this Forrester report, which is basically the report was about some surveys to where Forrester asked some companies in Europe and in USA and also in Latin America about how they deal with some new enterprise capability adoption, right? How they deal with that, right? That was the question, So more or less 70% of the interviewers said that the company said that the 70% of the company said that they were success in the goal of creating a new enterprise capability using Center of Excellence. That was something nice for us, because we were in the same scenario, and we say, okay, let's try this, right? Let's do it. So first, I think we need to be clear about what is a Center of Excellence. To sum up, a Center of Excellence is a kind of strategic team, right, in a company, which is in charge of which is in charge to optimize and mature, in our case, DevOps and SRE practices through all the teams in the company, right? Across all the teams. So that was the main approach of this Center of Excellence team. Second, was to measure things, provide guidelines, provide assets that can be reusable from teams, and make this continuous learning and continuous building of those new practices more efficient each time, right? So mature the teams so they can be the owners of those practices, and they can continue with the approach. Basically that's what the idea, right, of the Center of Excellence. As I said at the beginning, inside those Center of Excellence, we were thinking, okay, if we want to talk about DevOps is huge, right? We have a lot of practices, the iteration, the deployment, continuous security, and so on. And besides SRE practices. By the way, in our case, we decided to include SRE as a kind of part of DevOps, right? Inside DevOps. That was our approach. Okay, so to split this big goal, basically we decided these value enabler groups, which is similar to guilds, right? And each value enable group is going to be the lead of this VEG is going to be a team member of the Center of Excellence, and this VEG is going to be in charge of a specific practice, right? As I said, continuous testing, consideration, a specific practice, SRE practice, for example. Okay, and the idea is that the VEG works with the Center of Excellence and also works with the different teams inside that team of teams organization. That was the approach, basically. And all of these focus on how the practice, the mature, the assets that we were creating, the training that we were promoting, and so forth, how all these can enable the value delivery. That's the idea. Okay, let's get ready to rumble. Let's start. As any other project, you need to start first with a roadmap, right? That is quite important. The place that you want to go, basically. So we did the same. Our why, our roadmap. So at the beginning, the preparation, right? Basically, we need to prepare the stuff, right? We need to define some concepts. We need to see the viability of this approach. We need to get sponsorship from the C-levels. We need to see some budget topics as well, and so forth, right? Then you have that. You need to go to the why, right? What is the main purpose of this DevOps and SRE Center of Excellence, right? What is the main purpose? What are going to be the first goals? The OKR, for example, the metrics that you want to measure, your success metrics, and so forth. Then you need to think about your structure, right? How you are going to create your role, your structure, how those roles are going to work together inside the Center of Excellence and also outside, right? We are a different team of teams and so forth. At least the MVP, right? Then you need to run the onboarding, right? As another team, right? You need to give them an onboarding so you can create a team, basically. And finally, because we are using an agile approach, we are going to work with the Center of Excellence in a kind of iteration fashion way, right? That was the idea. And of course, we are going to provide accompaniment to some specific teams, right, in our company as part of the first goal. Okay, so that was our roadmap. So, okay, and of course, this is not a kind of step-by-step or linear approach. Basically, it's a kind of iterative approach. As I said, we are using agile. So as part of that continuous improvement and continuous learning, we use the cycle, the act, plan, do, check cycle. Okay, that was the approach. Okay, first challenge, this challenge, which was really important, the classic problem about DevOps and SRE, the difference between them. DevOps is included in the SRE, SRE is included in DevOps, and so forth, you know. So we consider quite important to define those topics in the company before starting with this approach. So basically, we took some ideas from DevOps from Genki. To sum up, she said that DevOps is a cultural movement to build new practices, to speed up flow, to produce quality products with world-class reliability, security, and so forth. So that's the idea of GEM. And also about SRE, we took ideas from Liz von Jong, who is an ex-Googler, and she was the SRE lead at Google, right? So she said that basically SRE is a kind of a specialized job to focus on the maintainability, the reliability, scalability of the products, basically. So that's the idea, right? That was the first approach from her. So we took the ideas to, as part of the strategy. Okay, this part of this graph was taken from the Team Topology book, which is a book that I strongly recommend you. And basically, what you can see here is this interaction, right? This collaboration. You can see here that we have DevOps, which includes the classic practices, that we know, and deploy, security, and so forth. And you can see here the stream-aligned teams, right? Which was our case. We have a lot of stream-aligned teams. And here you can see two patterns, right? The first pattern is when you have the SRE practices, in this case are teams, that in this graph, before production, right? So as part of development instrumentalization, for example, right? And the second pattern is when you have SRE in both before production and after production. Before production, of course, in charge of developers, for example, in the instrumentalization, after production in the operation end, right? As I said, maintainability, reliability, and so forth. So that was our approach. So we try to focus our study in this approach because we consider that this kind of collaboration, at least in the beginning, was quite important. Thinking on that we had some operation teams and some development teams, right? So that was our first approach to start breaking silos, right? And create a more cross strategy, okay? Okay, the preparation, as part of preparation, you need to analyze, or we analyze a lot of things like viability of DevOps center of excellence formation, center of excellence initial team scope, our first goals, our first OKRs, draft OKRs, if you want to call it in that way, VEGs, what are going to be our first VEGs, and center of excellence goals, right? That is the beginning goals. So that was part of our preparation. And also as part of our preparation, as I said, the viability is quite important, right? Remember, creating a center of excellence is not one-day effort, and it's not a team that is going to, is going to be active for one sprint. No, it's a strategic team, right? To be in charge of the maturity of practice in the company. So you need to analyze the viability with your C levels. Here you can see a kind of a mural, a mirror, right? Where basically we set some specific checklists, which includes, okay, budget of the center of excellence, current capabilities, sponsorship, technology, and so forth, right? So we ran this approach with our senior architects and also with our skill levels to get the support from them in terms of, okay, to get a final decision, okay, this center of excellence purpose or approach is okay with the company, we can do it. I think we can do it, right? That is quite important at the beginning of this. So the viability, please check it out. Okay, after that, sorry, I'm going to move this. Okay, after that, basically we need to start, I think the first step is we need to run an assessment, right? We need to analyze what is the status of our DevOps and SRE practices in the company. So I recommend you to run an assessment. You can use Dora, for example, from Google. It's a good assessment, or another in the market. After that, you need to analyze, okay, what are my results in terms of how those results are impacting our current value delivery. That is quite important, right? That is quite important. So, and also as part of this analysis, you need to analyze, okay, what is my current DevOps and SRE status or health or maturity, what do we have in the company? Do I have the people that have those skills or can develop those skills, those capabilities or not, right? I need to hire a third party, or I need to hire new people maybe, or I can coach them, I can train them, or so forth, right? I need to do that analysis again between those skills that the assessment, show me that I need to improve, and the current capabilities I have in the company. As part of that, of course, I can design my first VEG, right? So that is a good starter. Okay, this is also part of the preparation, the center of excellence value proposition canvas. As you can see here, it's a canvas you can run with your team, to define this first value proposition of your DevOps and SRE center of excellence. So as you can see here in this canvas, you can see topics like governance, objectives, company assets, events, value neighbor groups, measurements, and so forth. So that's the idea of this canvas. It's a kind of, a visual approach to define in an easy way the main topics that are going to design your center of excellence and develop the position of it, of course. This is a short design, of the center of excellence. Here you can see the center of excellence. Here you can see the center of excellence in the middle. You're going to have a DevOps center of excellence lead, maybe an architect, for example, and then you're going to have a value team facilitator, which is a kind of product owner, or it's a kind of our bridge between operation, development, and business, right? That's the role of that person. And also you can use ambassadors, which are the architects, most probably, that are going to work with a team of teams to try to foster and mature these DevOps and SRE practices. And also you have these value neighbor groups, right? Here you can see an example of an SRE value neighbor group. As you can see here, you have the SRE value neighbor lead inside the center of excellence, working with center of excellence to create assets and so forth. And this VEG is going to work, of course, with the different team members, tester, developers, and so forth, who are part of the team and team of teams. Okay? That was the approach, the initial approach. Okay, as part of onboarding, it's quite simple. Basically, we give them some training about enterprise agility, some center of excellence fundamentals, which is basically what is a center of excellence and how they work. Also about, okay, this is our proposal. This is the initial proposal about our design of center of excellence. That is what we have in terms of our operation model view, service catalog, guidelines, and so forth. Then also training about architecture for DevOps, which is quite important. And remember, in our case, we include SRE as part of DevOps. Remember that. That was our approach, right, in our case. And finally, some workshops, rare workshops, to starting to create those value groups with our center of excellence and also with the team of teams level. Okay, as part of the iterating and accompaniment, which are quite important, right? First, I recommend you to run your assessment, time to time, so you can make sure how you are improving your practices, but especially please in terms of value delivery, right? Please remember that is quite important. Maybe two metrics that I can recommend you is flow efficiency and lead time, for example. I think for me, those are the best. Of course, as part of this accompaniment effort, you can create new enterprise capabilities, right? For example, SRE or continuous testing, and please be sure to reuse these capabilities, make them known in the entire company so they can take advantage of these new capabilities, assets, guidelines, and so forth. That is quite important for us. And finally, my recommendation is, despite of at the beginning, you can use DORA or another assessments in the market. I recommend you to, mature your assessments as well and create your own in-house DevOps and SRE maturity assessment, right? That is my recommendation because at the end, your business is quite different from the standard business. So that is what I recommend. Okay, and run it time to time. Of course, focus the results and the decisions that you're going to take about the results in terms of value. That is the main message, right? It's okay to talk about automation, coverage, and so forth. That's okay, but be sure that you're going to focus on value, right? Great. My extra 2 pennies, some books. Sorry, before that, right? That was basically that was our strategy team. So we ran this. I think the results were good. We could improve the lead time and flow efficiency. We could remove some waste from the processes. We create some new capabilities for the company, and I think we could create a kind of governance for our DevOps, which is basically help us to reuse things, which is something good, right? Because that reusing things helps to speed up your processes. So that was good. Okay, so my extra pennies about it. First, this book, I recommend you. This book is quite awesome. For me, this is the best book in the market about center of excellence. So I recommend you to read this book. The topology book, amazing book as well. From Gary Gruber, Engineering Data Transformation. Also from Gary Gruber, these DevOps at Scale Experiences in HP as well. A Federic book. I think you already know this book, so this is a kind of Bible, right, for DevOps. Finally, some references. You are going to have the links of the references when you get this paper. Please remember that we all have dreams. I have dreams, you have dreams. So please help and share more, right? That is quite important. Help and share more. And finally, thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. I hope you can keep in touch. And thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.